We've been spending some time this summer talking about help for the home. And I've given you this list and that list, and you've taken a note or two. What good does all this do? It doesn't do anything unless you apply some of it, right? And but if you just apply a little here, a little there, and work on it, and maybe every now and then go back to some of these things and keep these things in the forefront of your minds, and it will help you. I think these things that have been given to you will help you. And they'll help you in your relationships, help you in your homes, and we need strong Christian homes. We know a family in Texas. They're between Houston and the Gulf. They visited our church down in Dalton for several months, I believe, at least weeks, and they liked our church. I think they would have joined. Well, he got transferred, or maybe he found a new job. He got transferred, I think. He got transferred. It was a good promotion for him, and so they went down to the Houston area, and I was checking her Facebook page, because I figured they might be posting some things about their situation, and I said, Robin, I think they're split up. And I started looking for pictures, and I didn't see any pictures of him, and I'm almost 99.9% sure that this fine young couple with two beautiful children, they were a precious family. I'm telling you, they were a precious family. Something has happened, and they split up. In fact, Tara located his Facebook page, and he's listed his status as single. So I was right before I even knew that. But this goes to show that none of us is exempt from problems in our marriage. And if you'll talk to the marriage counselors, and you look at the statistics, Christians have just about the same kind of problems and just about the same divorce rate as non-Christians. That's sad, but it's true. The fact is, we're just humans, right? We're just human beings, and we fall prey to some of the same pitfalls as anybody else does. But it goes to show that we need to work on some things, and we need to be on our toes. And we need to be earnest in making our homes as strong as they can be. We can be proactive. I think we used that term way back when. We can be proactive and try to get ahead of the curve and head some things off at the pass, so to speak. And listen, Rob and I are coming up on number 40. In February. We still got to work on stuff. Right? You'd think after 39 years of practice you'd have it down pretty pat. But you still got to work on stuff. Brother, you're shaking your head. How many of you got 50? You still got 54 years. You mean in 15 years I still won't have it down? We know it's all him and not her, so but you got to keep working on it, right? But it's look, you hear people divorced after 20, 30, 40. I mean, you hear of it, and it's just tragic. But we have trouble, we have conflict in our marriage. And tonight and next week, I know it's a holiday week, we're still going to do it. I want to talk about conflict resolution. And again, I told you when I started this series, some of this would seem more seminar-like than Bible-like, but I think we're on good, solid, Bible-based ground to give you some of these things. Take your Bibles and turn to the book of Proverbs, chapter number 13. Proverbs chapter number 13, and we'll use a verse here kind of as a jumping off place for this. None of us is exempt from conflict in our relationships, in our marriages. So maybe there's some things we can do or say to help us in this situation. Proverbs chapter number 13, you'll look at verse number 10. Only by pride cometh contention, but with the well-advised is wisdom. Only by pride cometh contention. Contention is, I'm not going to say this is a synonym for conflict. I don't think it is. I don't think it takes pride to have conflict. I think we have conflict just because we're human and we have differences. Okay? But contention comes when you can't resolve the conflicts. Contention comes when you can't deal with those things and you can't come to resolution. If we're what we ought to be as good Christians, we can come to resolution. We can solve our conflicts. Listen, it won't be perfect, right? Listen, perfection is not a goal for this life. Right? Perfection is not a goal for this life because we will never achieve it. But we can achieve a good relationship, good, solid, strong relationship with minimal difficulty. Okay? And when we have the conflicts, we can solve them and come to resolution. Anytime you have two people in the same room, guess what? You're going to have conflict. Unless one of them's dead. If you got two people in the same room, eventually there's going to be some kind of conflict, some kind of difference. A difference of opinion, a difference, I do it this way, well I do it this, those kinds of, there's going to be conflicts. This doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. Listen, I remember the illustration. You can have two rivers flowing along just pretty as you please, and these two rivers come together, and guess what happens? The clash of those two currents will create disturbance. Rob and I went to Pensacola and took a little short sailing vacation. I can only do that about once every 7 years. You can't take any more than that. We've done 3 of these, and I don't know when the next one will be, but we went to Pensacola, and when we do these, let me tell you what, I work myself to the bone trying to make sure this goes smoothly. So it'd be better than... It's always happened. But here we are, we're sailing down the Santa Rosa Sound, got a nice wind in the back, and what sailors call following seas, and it's just going pretty good, pretty smooth, and all of a sudden, here comes these waves on the beam, that means from the side, and these 3-4 foot waves, and my boat starts doing this number, and I said, where did that come from? And I was afraid I'd go this way, come back this way, right by the time the next wave came, and we'd get swamped and down we'd go. Oh my gracious. And for about 10 minutes, it was just and when it was all said and done, I got to thinking. And see, when you're a lake sailor, you don't face some things that you face when you're in a bigger body of water. And I'm fairly conscious of this, but the tide was going out, and the waters of the Santa Rosa Sound were coming this way. The waters of Pensacola Bay were coming this way, and we were fine as long as we were in the Sound, but when the waters of the Bay came, guess what? That's exactly what it was. They collided. This current collided with this current, and it just created this turbulence, if you will. And that's what it was. Two currents coming together, colliding, and there was conflict. And when you put two people in the same room, you got one current, you got two currents, put them in the same room, and you got currents colliding, and you're going to have conflict. So we got to work on this thing. People come together and they have different ideas of spirituality. You know, there are all kinds of sources of conflict. Their ideas of roles in the marriage are different. They have different friends. Their ideas of intimacy are different. Their ideas of how they want to spend their free time, their leisure time are different. Their ideas of finances are different. Their communication styles are different. They have habits, and all these things come into play. I remember when I was in college and we were studying all the pastoral stuff, and I took psychology classes, and one of the guys, he said, he was very good. He'd been a pastor, and he trained his preacher boys, and he talked about getting ready for marriage, and he did a little marriage seminar. In fact, sometimes I have couples, when I'm working with them, I have them listen to it. He says, too many times couples get married, come back off their honeymoon, and they find out they're married to a total stranger. Because when you're living in the same house with somebody, you realize they do things, but you really get to know who that person is. And when you come against these things, then you've got to resolve your conflicts, because there will be conflicts. There are all kinds of sources for conflicts. In my studies, I read, and this may change with time a little bit, but I read the 3 leading causes of marriage conflict. Now, they're pretty long list. I've got a couple lists I've gone through. I don't think I'll bore you with those lists, because you know kind of where they're at. But I've read this, and finances. I'm not sure which is order 1, 2, 3, but finances, major source of marriage conflict. In-laws. Susan, you're in trouble. Listen, I guess there's a reason for mother-in-law jokes, right? I don't know. And believe it or not, I'll use the word physical intimacy, and you know where I'm coming from on that. And you say, no, that wouldn't be a source of marriage. Oh, you'd be surprised. Yeah. And there are others that create these conflicts. And we need to learn how to resolve conflicts. Sometimes the solutions are easy. Sometimes they're not so easy. I know, and Rob and I first, and I've used this illustration before, but I like to use it because it makes the point. Sometimes conflicts are easy to solve. When we first got married, we used the same tube of toothpaste. They didn't last very long. She squeezes from the top, and I squeeze from the bottom. That's right. And it just irked me that I had to squeeze it up every time I went to brush my teeth. So I said, we got to resolve this conflict. You know, it's about a $1 solution. I just bought my old toothpaste. I mean, come on. But sometimes the conflicts are not quite so easy to resolve. But we need to work on it. We need to resolve our conflicts. You know, there are 3 myths about marriages. Myth number 1 is good marriages don't have conflict. I don't know, maybe in my 60-plus years, I've met a couple or two that seemed like they had a perfect marriage. I kind of got a hunch that what meets the eye isn't always what happens either. But the idea that good marriages don't have conflicts, that's probably just a myth. Again, because you got two people in the same room, they're just not going to agree on 100% of everything. So we got to work on that. Myth number 2. Conflicts are destructive to a good marriage. Doesn't have to be. Doesn't have to be. Yes, some people do not successfully work through their conflicts. And it results in either a very unhappy marriage, and by the way, with half of marriages fail, half of the ones that survive, they're not happy marriages. And so there really are very few happy marriages out there. But conflicts do not have to be destructive. They can serve to help make a relationship stronger, sharpen your skills, and you can still have a good marriage. Myth number 3. Quality marriages happen to a fortunate few. It's not just a fortunate few. Quality marriages happen to people who are willing to work on their marriage. Quality marriages are people who are committed to their marriages. Quality marriages are those where people are determined to make it quality. In 39 and a half years, I think I said this, but I'll say it again. I don't think I've ever even uttered the word divorce. I don't think Robin has either. We've been committed to making it work. And it takes two for that to be the case. It takes two to make a marriage, only one to break it up. But if you got two people that are committed to it, there's no reason under God's blue sky that you can't have a good quality relationship. Again, perfection's not the goal, but a good quality relationship is the goal. Somebody said the way to dig the grave of a relationship is with little digs. How do you bury a relationship with little digs? And this little thing, this little conflict, that little conflict, little by little, you don't resolve those things. And before you know it, you dug yourself this huge hole, and it gets very hard to get out of it. Conflict resolution should be a significant part of a healthy relationship. The course of severe conflict, and when I say severe, you face is not a severe conflict unless you're just a very weak person. but there are severe conflicts. So one of the two runs up $20,000 in credit card debt because they can't handle their listen, there are serious conflicts. Here's the course of serious conflict. Stage number 1. You have a normal adjustment. Again, two rivers come together, there's going to be turbulence. There's a normal stage of conflict resolution and adjustment. But if you don't do that, you move into stage number 2. Stage number 2 is a violation of trust. So let me tell you what, there's only one good way to have a healthy, happy relationship. That's trust. Trust. And by the way, trust is earned. We talk about that with children. It's true with spouses too. You earn trust. You behave responsibly. You behave like a spouse should behave. You act and you respond. And when you do that, trust is built. But when you're not resolving your conflicts, when you're not dealing with things, before you know it, somebody is practicing deception. They're doing things behind your back. They're getting credit cards without your knowledge, and meeting people without your knowledge, and other such things. They're keeping secrets. There can be unfaithfulness, and cause of marriage conflict, physical abuse, and other kinds of emotional abuse, and other kinds of abuse. When you don't resolve your conflicts, you wind up violating the trust that's necessary for a healthy relationship. Then you move into stage number 3, and that is social involvement. One or both spouses begins to look elsewhere for things they should be getting in their marriage. This is not to say that married people can't have a social life. In fact, I think they should have a social life. Because if you're trying to get all your needs met within this marriage relationship, that's probably not the healthiest relationship to begin with. Healthy people know how to have healthy relationships with a circle of people. And again, what's the church? But a circle of relationships. It's a sphere. But when they begin to look outside the marriage for things that ought to be satisfied in the marriage, then you're off track. Stage number 4, there's separation. This separation may not always be visible. Sometimes it's just emotional. The next stage is legal action. And then there's divorce and a post-divorce relationship, especially if there are children involved, and you've got to deal with that aspect of it. We don't want to go this route. We want to learn to resolve our conflicts. Is your marriage a battleground? Is there contention, not just conflict, is there contention in your home? Homes ought to be a place of sweetness. Homes ought to be a place of peace. Homes ought to be a place where you can actually relax and decompress. If you dread going home because of the conflicts you're going to face when you get there, we need to put the yellow light ought to come on, or maybe even the red light. Hey, let's take notice. Let's fix something. Is your home a battleground? Some people practice guerrilla warfare in their homes. What do you mean by that, preacher? Sometimes it's just a daily assault. The sneaking through the woods and in the jungle and hitting here and hitting there, and quick hits, nags and digs, and nitpicking. Dropping some shells whenever you come into contact with the enemy. Guerrilla warfare. Some homes, the battleground is full of salt. I mean, it's all out war. Yelling, screaming, pushing, hitting sometimes. You charge with both barrels blazing. Some homes, there's the ambush style of warfare. People are blindsided with hits and barbs and angry words. But how about there's another option on this battlefield? Just plain old simple conflict resolution. Listen, there are, and next week I'm going to sit down and we're going to go through some strategies for resolving conflict. There is a way, there is a method to it. There's a method to resolving conflicts. Here's one of the main keys. Let me give you this, and we'll end with this. Perhaps the key to having a good, healthy relationship, and the world doesn't like this word, it's the word submission. It's the word submission. What did that verse say, Proverbs 13:10? Only by pride cometh contention. What's pride? Pride is me. Pride is self. Pride is me first. If you have a me first marriage, and there is a healthy way for me to be involved, for me, for the I to be a part of the marriage. There is a healthy me. There is a healthy I. You must respect yourself if you want your spouse to respect you. There is a healthy me to it. But if it's all about I, if it's all about me, then this is going to be very, very difficult. This is what happens in marriage, because it does take two. It takes two people who are willing to work the process. That's why we say the key is submission. We need to submit to the Word of God. We need to submit to one another. And I know the man is the leader of the home. But you know what the verse is before that? The verse before wives, submit yourself. You know what the verse before that is? Submitting yourselves one to another in the fear of God. Okay? If you're all about you, and you can't submit to us, to the we, to the me and you, it's now us. It's not me, it's not you, it's us. If you can't submit to that, you're in for a life of button heads. It has to be about us. It has to be about our family. It has to be about our marriage. It has to be about God's will. You submit to the Word of God. You submit to one another. You submit to your marriage vows. Are we honorable people of integrity? And we make promises there at an altar before God and before these assembled witnesses. You know how it goes. We make promises. So I didn't know how hard it was going to be. When you come to me, and I'll tell you, it's going to be hard. Okay? This is not easy. It's not easy putting two sinners in the same room and making it work. It takes hard work. Submit to your marriage vows. Somebody said, it's not love that sustains the marriage, but the marriage that sustains the love. You go chew on that for a little while. You go chew on that for a little while. It's not love that sustains the marriage, because our definition of love today is what? Feelings. Folks, feelings change. Love is a commitment. Love is a decision. And when you stood at the marriage altar and you said, I do, I will, however it was worded, and you made your vows, you made a decision. And I told you when this thing started, cultures where marriages are arranged have a far lower divorce rate than the way we do it. Because they're not basing their vows and their marriage on feelings. It's based on the contract. It's based on the commitment. And if we'll live that way, let me tell you what, some mornings you'll get up and you don't feel like you love this person. They don't look very lovely and you don't either. And if that's where that's the foundation for your relationship, you're a hurt person. And your marriage is going to be hurt. So we submit to our marriage vows. We are willing to submit to wise advice from friends and counselors. Let me tell you what, there are good people around that can help folks. Statistically, again, you can make statistics which one, but statistically, couples who do pre-marriage counseling have a better success rate than couples who don't. Okay? Now, why is that? I'm not sure, but I got a theory. All right? Did they really get that really, really good stuff in marriage counseling? They should have got some good stuff in marriage counseling. They should have. But I think there's more to it than that. I think their willingness to go through the process, their willingness to listen, their willingness to learn is even more important than actually what they got in those sessions. We're willing to let somebody help us get to where we need to be. And see, today, marriage counselors, I think many would tell you this, by the time a couple comes for help, let me tell you what, this thing is in such bad shape, it takes almost a miracle to get them out of it. We shouldn't be that way. We shouldn't wait till the thing is almost on the rocks before we go for help. There are good, godly, wise people around that if you're, again, willing to submit, willing to listen, willing to learn, willing to work, and they're all big ifs, but if you are, again, it takes both. It takes both. But if you're willing to work on it, then you can get help and you can make it. I've worked with couples, pre-marriage couples. I've worked with couples in marriage counseling. I've worked with couples after the thing came apart. Worked with single adults for 14 years, and many of those had been through divorces and that tragedy, that heartache, and that hurt. But if we'll turn to the Lord, turn to good people, and work on the thing, we can make it. We can make it. Conflict resolution. Let me tell you what, every relationship will have some degree of conflict. Let's be mature. And by the way, when people come to my office and want to get married, you know what I think is the number one requirement for a good marriage? To me, it's maturity. I think maturity is the biggest qualification for a good, successful marriage. If we are mature, spiritually mature, emotionally mature, then I think we're a long way on our way towards a good marriage. And let's work on it. Let's make our homes strong. God wants us to have strong homes. Let's bow our heads together. Only by pride cometh contention. Everybody has conflicts, but if we're boastful and proud, it's going to turn into contention and war and grief. Shouldn't. We ought to be humble, submit ourselves to God, to His Word, to our vows, to one another, submit ourselves to the advice of good, godly people. This verse also mentioned the wise counsel. Listen, submit ourselves to it. Let God make our homes strong. Oh, we need it. We all need this. Our children need it. Our culture needs it. Let's give ourselves to it. Father, thank you for your word. Even this one little verse about contention sheds so much light on where our marriages are and our relationships. Lord, man's biggest problem is pride, sin, and self. And that will ruin a marriage just as fast. That's what will ruin a marriage. Lord, help us to be selfless, to be submissive to your word, to your plan, to your will, to one another. Bless our homes. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Brother Tommy?
Page 3.